YouTube, what's going on? Simulcasted on StreamYard. Hey, everybody, this is The Way. The time is now 8:03. It's good to have you. Let's get into today's subject. So as you can see, I'm pretty hot. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm sweating. It's hot in here, but I got the door open. So if you guys, hear any cars moving or things like that, just let it slide. That's keeping your host calm and cool and collected. What's going on, wife? Yeah, you just texted me. Yeah, I'm online. I'm here. So, folks, first things first, just a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to let you guys know that we are starting up our third cohort for the financial literacy program. So if you are interested in that, please DM me, let me know. I do have students that have lined up already that are already set to take this course. So we're going to be working with them. I think we have, 5 or 6 right now in the class. So if you definitely want to get in, definitely get in. See how hot I am? That's why I opened the door. I'm like, I'm not going to survive this episode with these lights blazing on me. As a matter of fact, let's tone the lights down a little bit. Let's tone that down. Let's tone it down. We're going to chill out and relax. All right. So folks, today's episode is how to exercise your mind and open up your vision, your sight, your third eye, as they call it. Now, this podcast came to me because I was thinking about my week this week, and even today. I do a fast every day, but once a month I do a fast for about 30 hours, right? And during that time, the reason why I do it is because it allows me to really dig back into my spiritualism, like digs me back into myself, right? And it allows your body to start becoming a beacon of sorts. So the way that our bodies work is very simple. Your body consumes energy, right? And it also is energy. So if you think about electrical circuits, right? When the power is on, power is moving through the circuits, right? When power is off, nothing's moving through, but the circuits are connected. Okay, think of our bodies as 2 circuits connected, right? We have a circuit of our body doing and processing things to create energy. And then boom, we have the other part, which is the spiritual processing, which is, you're able to attract, manifest, do miracles, those types of things, right? That's part 2. So by fasting, what you're doing essentially is you're taking all of the food out of the equation, meaning that all of the circuitry that you need to keep and sustain energy, you're depleting that, and you're allowing your body to stop using energy over here and shift its energy to over here, which is the spiritualism, the manifestation, the visions, the dreams, all that type of work. Now, what I found out during this process of 12 months is that whenever you are engaged in meditation, engaged in some level of spiritual awareness, right? You'll be able to notice that when you do things in your daily life, whether or not they're actually helping your spiritual journey or like worsening your spiritual journey. So for example, let's say you get really upset, right? And you lash out and you're on a meditation spree or you're, fasting or whatever, but yet you use that energy to be aggressive or negative towards someone or something. Well, what you're going to find is that the fasting's going to help that take the edge off of that, but it's not going to necessarily change the outcome of what you did because you just exerted energy in a space that is opposite of the positive vibration that you're trying to set over here. So your body works in a cyclical way where things that you do on one side affect things that you do on the other side. So by removing one element out, removing your ability to have to process energy, you can then take your body and use it as a signal, literally, and use it to connect to your dreams, your visions, to your ancestors, whatever have you. Now, this was common knowledge back in the day, but today, we don't know these things because we weren't ever taught this. I don't think I've ever had a lesson about how to create an energy field for myself to attract the things that I want. The law of attraction, you've read books about that. You've seen posts about that. The law of attraction works very simply. You imagine something, you think on that thing, you keep it in the top of your mind, and before you know it, it manifests physically into real life. In Nigerian culture, our ancestors always talked about the fact that you have to envision the future that you want. And you have to believe that God will give you that and grant you that. But you also have to do the work along the way. You can't just expect your future to come without you having to be ready for it, right? So there is a part of, manifesting that requires you to be a believer of your manifestation, a believer of what you're trying to do. And then there's the actual work that needs to be done so that when it gets to you, you actually know what to do with it. So today we're going to talk about those 2 steps. First step is, how to exercise your ability to manifest things. And then the second step is how to train your body and things that you can do with your body in order to get yourself to a space where you can manifest and actually see those things come to life. All right. So that's what's going to happen today. So let's start off with first and foremost. Whenever we're talking about manifestation, or we're talking about, anything to do with, cosmic energies, we've got to make sure that we have a blueprint on how to do that. Now, for all my Christian folks on the audience who read the Bible, who grew up in the Bible, I appreciate y'all. And I can tell you that is one of the things that has helped me to kind of get grounded when it comes to just life in general. How to know that God is the author and finisher of our faith, how he is the one that's going to take us from, point A to point B. That has been a great, tool for me, especially on the spiritual journey that I'm on. Now, another tool that's helped me, and there is a 3-step kind of way to look at this, right? You've got to plant the seeds, you've got to nurture the seeds, and then you've got to reap the harvest, right? In those 3 phases. Planting the seeds in this example is going to be how you train your mind and your body to be prepared for manifesting things, for manifesting the future that you want, for enabling yourself to be a beacon for whatever energies you want to see come to you, right? So the first way to do this is to start up with a fasting schedule. Now, a lot of people talk about fasting, but they don't really talk about what it means and how to do it. So I'm just going to break it down real easy. They say that fasting is, someone's knocking over there. They say that fasting is, you fasting from something that you enjoy or like. So let's say that you watch a lot of TV. You can fast from TV. That's one type of fast, right? But that's not the kind of fast that helps you in your spiritual journey. It does, but not directly. It's an indirect thing, because when you watch a lot of television, you get a lot of subliminal messages, which do affect your subconscious. So that's how it can impact you. However, the fasting that I'm talking about is you being able to shut down your body from having to extract energy into an area where it can then use the energy and use it like efficiently, right? So when you fast, whether it be for 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, 30 hours, like what I'm doing, you are training your body to not only get rid of waste in your system, but also to strengthen your connections with your pineal gland. Because again, fasting is the art of being able to let go of all the toxins and all of the things that you eat throughout the day. All of those items have poisons in them, whether it be preservatives, whether it be, chemicals that are put in your food to keep them fresh, whether it be things that are sprayed as a pesticide. All of these things in our food actually come into our bodies as a foreign body, right? They're a foreign object, they're not natural. So your body has to take time to process those foreign elements. And when it's doing that, it's not able to use the energy that you actually have to manifest. So manifesting is a thing where you need to have your body shut down all of those processes, make sure that everything is good for that energy to then be used and focused into a certain level of area, right? So put it this way, we have Ramadan going on right now, right? If you guys are familiar with Ramadan, basically it's when you don't eat for a certain period of time. So when the sun is up, you do not eat. When the sun goes down, that's when you have your meals. And then before the sun gets up, you wake up, you have a meal before the sun goes up, and then you fast throughout the entire day. I think Kyrie Irving's doing this. A few other folks are actually on the Ramadan fast. I am not on the Ramadan fast, but I've kind of been doing it indirectly anyway, because I fast for 24 hours a day anyway. So that usually goes through the cycle of the same amount of time that they use, but I'm actually going further than them. So they're going for probably a 12-hour period. I'm going for 23 hours. But the same concept is going to happen. The reason why Kyrie is playing just as efficiently now as he was when he was eating every day is because when his body is no longer producing, processing the food, basically getting the food from food into energy, because that's what happens when you eat. You eat food, it goes into your system. Your body has to take time to break that food down. It takes anywhere from 3 hours to 8 hours. And when you're doing that, your body's not able to do other things because it's so busy trying to process food. Now, when the food is done processing, when it's out of your stomach, out of your small intestines and in your large intestine, and it's just doing its thing there, that's when your body can then take the energy from that food and use it for your daily life. It can use it for when you work out. I see you, Tice. What's going on, brother? Oh, see, this topic's going to be good for you too, because you can help me in the audience when people are talking about training. Just so you guys know, Tice the trainer is my boy. That's my brother. He is a fitness expert as well as an entrepreneur. I've known him for, I don't even know, probably a decade plus. So Definitely good guide, Alana. If you definitely want to get yourself into shape, Tyson, I don't know if you can see me, man. I've been doing some work. I don't know if you can see, but I've been doing some work, man. Definitely got to reach out to you and tweak my workout a little bit. But if you guys ever want someone who can virtually help you and get you into in a good space, that's him. Peace, management modesty. Hey, what's going on, sister? It's been a long time. Hey, I got to get you on the podcast just so I know you're watching me. So after the podcast is over, I'm going to message you and let's try to connect for sometime next month, because we definitely got to do this. We've been talking about it for months, and that's on me. So I'll take that. So folks, as you're eating food, your food has to process. And once that processing is over, that is now when you can start using that energy towards either using your higher functions when it comes to spiritualism, when it comes to you manifesting things, when it comes to you understanding and getting messages from the ancestors, or even to connect to your first self. When you want to connect to God, you always have to calm everything around you down. You can't be distracted. You can't have a lot of noise going on. And that includes noise in your body. Your body makes noise when it's digesting food. So the goal is to eliminate the noise in every aspect that you can, so you can listen and hear the voice of the Most High. That's how this works. And our ancestors knew this, but it wasn't something that was transferred after the second wave of our experience in this country and just in the world in general. Like, we've lost a lot of our culture because of colonizing one, that whole issue that took place. And just because we're in an age of forgetfulness where we don't remember these things, and these things aren't readily available to us because the folks that are in power don't want you to know your history and your truth. If you go to Egypt, you'll see that most of the statues have their noses broken off. Why? Because someone had a hissy fit and said, I don't want anyone to know the likeness of these statues. I don't want them to know that these were melanated folks. To the point where folks are literally bleaching some of the hieroglyphics and like the actual paintings so that the folks in the paintings look lighter. This is what has been happening for centuries upon centuries to try and keep you unaware and dumb about what your history was and your ancestry. So for me, we're going to take some steps to get us closer to that by learning some of the lessons that we have had as natural parts of existing. I'm going to share some of those with you today. So the first one is fasting, right? So we talked about that. So all fasting is going to do is it's going to allow your body to stop with processing of food and start with actually being able to utilize that energy to do higher spiritual things. Now, what are these higher spiritual things? Well, it starts off in the form of meditation. When you're fasting, and I think you remember Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights when he was tempted by the devil, right? You remember that story in the Bible? Okay. There's a reason why that story is in the Bible, because Jesus did fast. That was a part of his belief system and what he did as an individual. And by fasting, he was able to not only, take those temptations by the devil, take them in stride, but he was able to surpass them and say, get thee behind me. Like, you're not even messing with me. I'm not throwing myself off a mountain. I'm not doing any of these things. And granted, if these stories are true or not true, I don't know what your denomination or belief is. The concept behind what Jesus did in that story is still the truth, which is when you are meditating, when you are fasting, you're going to be able to get into different spiritual places that you would not get to if you weren't. And that's just the way it goes. So our ancestors back in the day, they made it a point to make everything a ritual. Now, when I say the word ritual, sometimes that scares people. It scared my wife once too. And I was saying, hey, I'm going to put together a shrine in the house, just to honor the ancestors. And it didn't scare her necessarily, but it was something that was not common speech. It was something that we talk about in Christian church, Seventh-day Adventist church, all those things. So, when I think about ritualizing your life, right? Our ancestors believe that every act that you make, whether it be your words, your deeds, what you put in your mouth, the way that you interact with the world, with other creatures, with the plants, with anything that you put your hands to, all of that is a ritual. Every aspect of your life is ritualized, which means that you are taking the time to be specific and to be very concentrated on what you're doing and making sure that you are doing exactly what you intended to do in your conversations, in your relationships. When talking about marriages back in the day, we're talking about soulmate pairings. We're talking about folks who literally are their complement. And they didn't do that just by happenstance. It was something that was an active thing that they did, right? And that means that every interaction was one that was a ritual. Anytime you would have the ability to make children, that wasn't just sex, that was a ritual. And back in the day, We actually had priests who would help guide the young folks going through this process as a rite of passage. As they found their soulmates and they're getting married, there was actually a priest that would help them through this. These are all things that we used to do as happenstance back. That's just normal back in the day. And now we don't even think about that because it's not a part of our culture. So back to fasting, back to energy. When you are no longer processing food in your system and you decide to meditate at that point, what you're going to find is that your ability to concentrate is going to be the next step in this evolution of being able to get to that level where you're connecting to God and the Most High in that way, right? So your food is the first step, right? The second step is now you're meditating. Now you're trying to connect, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through, doing something in nature, sitting down in a still position, upright, and just doing breathing exercises. There are actually breathing exercises that I'll actually share one with you now. So here's a breathing exercise that you can do that can help you to get yourself channeling in the right energy. Okay. So you're fasting. You're not taking in any other food. Your food is processing, it's processed, it's through. Okay. So you're going to breathe in and you're going to hold that breath you're going to breathe in for 7 seconds. So it's a very slow drawing breath, right? So you're going to hold it for 7 seconds. You're going to release it for 7 seconds, right? So 7 on the breathing in, 7 holding while it's in, 7 as it goes out, slowly. As you're doing it, you're supposed to visualize that you're breathing. Just kind of start to sense yourself. If you want to close your eyes, you can do that. If you want to open your eyes, that's fine. But it's not about where your eyes are. It's about where your mind is. So the goal of this, and I do this is this exercise that I do this 7 rounds of that, right? Before I get into anything. So before I even try to, meditate, before I try to, give a libation, before I try to connect to my ancestors, I will sit still and do this breathing exercise 7 times in that same way, 7 in, 7 hold, 7 out. And I do it 7 times. When I'm on the 7th time, but by the time I get to the 7th one, my blood pressure is lowered. My heart rate is lowered. I am calm. I'm relaxed. I took the time to get all of the things out of my mind that happened in my day, all the stressors that I had, anything that I was thinking about. I used those 7 breaths in the 7-step process to literally calm all that down. And at the end of that, that's when I'm in my meditation state. That is when I'll start asking questions. I'll say things like, first of all, it's gratitude first. Can you continue to know that I love you and I appreciate and I value? Like I just start saying like gratitude and gratitude. So I'll thank the Most High for life. I'll thank the Most High for my family. Thank for my job. Be thankful for my life and my health and my strength. I start with thankfulness first. And in the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm not asking God anything. I'm just declaring the love and the gratitude that I have for his guidance throughout my life, right? Cool. When I'm done with that moment of gratitude, then and only then will I ask one question. And I don't just pick any question. Even if there's not a question yet, I'll just be silent, be still, and wait until the question that I want to ask is ready to be asked. And then I say, hey, I'm getting a job offer. Should I take it? Just simple, Or I'm, in this situation with XYZ. Is this the right thing for me? Hey, I'm looking at doing this business venture. I know that in my heart it's the right thing to do, but it may not be the right time. Can you please give me a sign or show me or how I can get this done? We've got to do this idea of asking the Most High for guidance. And whenever you ask for guidance, you'll receive it. And it's to the point now where I don't have to do the 7 breaths to get those questions answered. Like when you fast, you start becoming kind of attuned to that voice in your mind. I don't know if you guys know about that little voice in your head where like if you're doing something wrong, that little voice is like, you shouldn't do that. Or if you're doing something right, the voice is like, hey, I'm proud of you. Or if you have a question like, hey, I wonder why this is the case. And it answers you. Like I've had so many of those moments on quiet rides, either upstate or just in my car heading home or whatever, because I'm in a state of meditation at all times, right? So when you get there, you'll realize that you'll be able to kind of connect more to the Most High when you quiet down everything around you. And that's your time to ask those questions. So for me, sometimes, like on the weekends, I'll wake up early and I'll meditate on the front. I'll be cleaning the house, doing a little bit of stuff here and there. And I'm just in my space, me and the Most High, just communing, talking about gratitude, talking about, what's coming up next, asking questions about life. And I'm getting answers to some of these questions immediately. Other times it's a wait and see. So this is what you can start doing when you are aligning your energy from body to spirit, because we are spirits in a body. That's what we are. We are all literally spirits that have to be in these bodies right now. That's it. So for us to transcend the body to get back to who we were and to connect to that ancestral memory that we have access to, we've got to align ourselves in the right way. Now, fasting is one. Here's the second one. And I have a book here. I know if you guys have never read this book, but this is actually volume 2, Black Root Science. So this is volume 1. For those who know about Black Root Science, hey, what's up? It's volume 2. We're going to talk about this one today. So volume 2 actually has some very important stuff when it comes to, food, when it comes to the sacredness of what we do in consciousness. And it also has exercises in there that I want to share with you. Hey, Issy, what's up, mama? Hey, mama. So back in the day, just so that you guys know, we would learn through experience. And that experience, hey, mama, what's up? Oh. That's my baby girl trying to let me know she sees me. So I see you too, little mama. So back in the day, we actually had rituals. And those rituals would happen 7 times throughout a lifetime. And each ritual would allow that person that goes through that rite of passage to have mastered a section of the universe and of the planet, and on and on and on. So there was always a reason for you to learn something in stages. So you know how in life you have your toddler, like I have my toddler over there, she's learning in stages. She's learning how to say her ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And when she's finished that, she'll go into preschool, and then she'll go into, into pre-K, all that other stuff, and then into kindergarten and grade 1, 2, 3 processes. That's been the case that's how we always have been. Everything's in stages. So part of what we used to do was we would have a great ritual and everyone was involved, right? The entire tribe would shut down and you would know that this was a ritual day, and there would be folks passing through, the first great ritual all the way through to the 7th ritual. Now, one of the things that I always found fascinating about our history from, Black Roots is for folks to even get to a ritual, they've had to have done a lot of work on themselves and researching, right? In order to pass that ritual, because rituals are the type of thing where, I don't know if you read Melodoma's books or any of the other books from, folks who have been in Africa and who've actually done some of these rituals that are still happening today. Some of these things are scary as heck. Like there are rituals where if I were to tell you about it, you wouldn't even believe that happened, but it's written in his book. And the author literally is swearing that he visualized this stuff himself, right? Anyhow, one of the things about rituals that you have to know is that it requires you to surrender. You have to surrender to the process, meaning that if you don't get deep into yourself and into where you're supposed to be to then, pass the ritual, you're not going to pass, and you'll have to go and do it over again. And sometimes there's no do-overs. Sometimes you're allowed to do a ritual once because it may take you a certain amount of time to build up to it, and you may not live to see another one. So, the purpose of why I'm saying this is this. We have to know that there's going to be work that needs to be done for you to get yourself into a space where you will be ready for the next spiritual evolution that we're going to have as a people. Right now, you're seeing a revolution right now where folks are taking themselves out of certain jobs because they don't want to even work in environments that are toxic. You're seeing folks taking themselves out of relationships or out of, structures that are around them that are predicated around white supremacy or around areas that are not successful for our people. You're seeing folks take their kids out of school, teachers leaving their jobs. You're seeing nurses walking off the job because they're like, hey, I'm not going to sacrifice my body for you guys and whatever you're trying to do. Like you're seeing a lot of people taking these steps from where they are to another higher level because they're being encouraged spiritually to become independent, encouraged spiritually to say, hey, enough is enough. I'm only going to move in the right direction. Anything in the wrong direction, I'm not going to do. Cool. One of the things that you can do to tap into that is to start remembering who you are. And the way that you can do that, and Black Roots has this in their exercises. The first step is recalling, being able to recall certain details within your experience on a daily basis. See, remember I mentioned that, back in the day, our ancestors were all about ritual. Everything was a ritual, like walking down the streets, a ritual, like everything was important. Everything was remembered. Everything was, we were deep into everything. It wasn't like we were mindlessly watching TV, mindlessly snacking, aimlessly walking down the street with nothing to do. That wasn't how we existed back in the day. Everything was purposeful, right? So one of the things that we've been doing, since we've kind of gotten into Black Roots, is recall exercises. Okay, so I'm going to talk about stage 1. And for folks who are having a problem with their memory, having a problem remembering what's been going on in their lives, having a problem with, anything to do with with your mind, whether it's a cognitive issue or just something that you're just trying to get through some level of cognitive, reflux, this is going to help you with it. Okay. So lesson 1, and I tell a lot of folks, and actually people have told me this, that if you want to kind of get into who you are and to remember who you are, jump into these exercises and actually start doing them, and you'll start to see things happen in your dreams. So lesson 1 begins with exercise 1 and ends with exercise 21. In the following exercises, we'll be asking you to remember events in your daily life. We're going to simplify the procedure and reduce it to bare bone fundamentals. So you'll be able to consciously follow the whole process from how your memory is stored and then remembered. As adults, we have become used to storing our memories automatically and then recalling them automatically. We're no longer aware of how we actually do it. Children are much more conscious of how they do it, but their language skills are not developed enough for them to explain it to us. So this is the author speaking. So I'm going to lead us back to the basics so that we can start being aware again of how our activities are tuned into memories, how our activities are turned into memories, and then later remembered. So here's the first exercise, okay? Pick a time interval on the first day of your training between 6 p.m. and midnight. This interval will be about 15 to 30 minutes long. During this time interval, you'll observe all the details of your own activities, including your surroundings as they are happening. You'll make a conscious decision to notice as much as possible during that 15 to 30 minute period. So, and he illustrates what that looks like. So I'm not going to read the illustration to you, but essentially the first step, and I'm going to walk through this with you guys because I've done the first 7 of these and I can literally recall each of these things that have happened. I did this last year and I can recall all of my memories. So it works. So basically how we're doing it is, excuse me, you pick a day, pick a time between 6 and midnight p.m. And what you're going to do is you're going to be consciously, actively remembering and observing everything that happens to you. So one of these that I'm going to tell you about, I had a recall where my wife and I, we were at, Zara at the mall. Okay. We're at the mall at Zara and I was in line and I have a stopwatch. So my time literally started when I was in the line. I have the stroller, Isioma's in the stroller, and my wife is actually showing me items for us to buy for her. There was purple shoes that she had showed me. There was a sweater. She had actually walked over to the counter to lay some of the clothes down. While she was there, I was looking at Isioma, looking around. There was an Indian couple, 3 people behind me. There was an Italian lady and her daughter up ahead. There was a gentleman behind me. I can literally visualize the scene as it happens right now. She pulls up the boots and says, "Hey, which of these colors do you like?" I'm like, "I like the pink one better." And she pulls it over. And so I'm walking through this. I look up at the counter and I remember that they were 4 booths. 2 had tellers in them. 3 of them had signs on them. One of the tellers was a African-American woman with 2 puffs. And the other one was, I don't recall if she was European, but she looked European. There was a lady with dreadlocks walking down the left with clothes in her hands. There was a Asian gentleman with an orange sun-kissed soda in his hand as he was walking around by the shoes section. I can recall the shoes of the Italian lady in line. She had leather snake shoes. The daughter had leather snake shoes and the woman had diamond crusted sandals. So this happened last year, what I'm calling to you right now. And I can go into more detail of it, but this is the purpose of this exercise. The purpose of it is for you to understand that when you're actually paying attention to things and consciously doing it, setting aside the time to say, "Hey, I was 6:30 to 6:45. That was the time frame that I had." So I literally 6:30, my alarm went off. I'm like, "Okay, time to clock in, I started looking around, observing everything around me. Now, the way this exercise works is that for the 15 minutes that you're doing this, you just observe everything. You don't do anything else. Just observe as much as you can. And when the 15 minutes is up, you stop, turn it off, right? Now, before you go to bed, the last thing that you do before you go to sleep, pull out a notepad, and you are then to recall as much detail as possible of that 15 minutes that you had from 6:30 to 6:45. And if you don't remember the actual part of it directly, leave it out. The purpose of this is for you to start knowing the difference between what you make up and what really happens. What I've realized from doing this experiment and this exercise was that we make up a lot of details that aren't true. And I don't know if you guys have had arguments with people in the past where like, hey, you said this or you said that. And you're like, no, I didn't say that. And like, no, you did. And it's like, you don't remember certain things. Well, the reason why you don't remember certain things is because while you're recalling your memory, you're sometimes making up facts along the way. So like there are things that you know that are true, and then there are filler. Like there's areas that are gray, so you just fill it in with whatever you want. You create some sort of narrative. You create what you thought you heard. You create the tone. You create the words, and you just put it in to fill in the blanks, right? This exercise teaches you that you do not want to do that when you recall memories. When you're recalling something, you have to recall specifics of exactly what you observed. And if you can't remember it perfectly, leave it alone. Don't even put it down. Just write down exactly what you remember. Now, you write this down before you go to sleep, okay? And then you go to sleep. That's day one. I think there's maybe a 3-day lapse between day one and day two, and then you do the same exercise again, okay? Another 15 minutes, and you do the same thing. You pick a time between 6 and midnight, and you recall whatever is happening in that time, and then again you let it go. You wait till before you go to bed, and then you write down everything that you remember that same night. The key to this is not just you recalling it before you go to sleep. There's a purpose for that, because the purpose of these recall exercises is to open up your pineal gland so that when you're sleeping, you can actually start opening up more. The next revolution is not going to be televised because it's going to be happening in here. A lot of us, and we had this ability back in the day, were telepathic. We were able to communicate over distances without having to speak with words. It was all in this state. And right now, there are folks in our culture who actually can still do this. The author of the book, Black Root Science, actually had to use telepathy to actually help write this book in certain sections of the book. Literally was telepathically sent to the publisher. It wasn't even something that like he physically was able to write. He had to just send the words. So this is not something that is not happening. Like this book is literally a proof of the fact that it's a thing. However, to get to that level where these guys are at, you have to go through the steps, meaning you have to start opening up your abilities and opening up your mind and your ability to actually do things with your mind. And most of that happens in the dream state. The dream state is called Daitoro. That's the name for it. And Daitoro is anyone that has the dream. You probably have been in a Daitoro before, which is a lucid dream where you're actually interacting with yourself, with ancestors, with other people that are also able to get into Daitoro. It's a pretty cool experience. I haven't been to Daitoro the way that some of the author of the book has gone through it, but I've had lucid dreams where I know and I'm aware that I'm dreaming, and I'm aware that what's happening in the dream, I'm going to like have a role to play and I have decisions to make. And this process is going to open up your ability to remember your dreams, because what's happening now, for folks who are not fasting, for folks who are not actually doing mental exercises, you're dreaming amazing dreams, and when you wake up, you forget them all. You're asking the Most High for answers to questions. You're asking the Most High for guidance, and he/she is giving it to you in your dreams. But then you wake up and you forget what you were dreaming about. You forget what the answers were. And the answers that our ancestors are going to give us now are going to come in two different ways. One is going to be in your dreams. You're going to get answers to the questions in your dreams. You're going to wake up with epiphanies like, oh, wait a minute, I need to do this. Or, hey, I got to go here. Or, hey, I got to start this business. Or, hey, I got to, like, you're going to get these, I guess, vibrations, in your dreams where it's going to say, hey, you should do this. The other way is going to be directly, whether you're dreaming or not. You ask a question, Most High says, here's your answer. Are you ready for it? I remember I asked 2 questions over the last 6 months to the Most High, like directly, like, hey, what is the reason for this? And I guess I should share. I can't even share them with you. That's annoying. So one of the things about this work is that sometimes the messages that you get are not for anyone else. It's for yourself. It's for you. And you have to know what to do with them. And that's a part of growing up that I've always been a good at, like knowing when to share and when not to share. But the point of me sharing this is that this is actually something that I've experienced myself, where I've asked God literal questions and say, hey, why is it that XYZ is always the case for me? Like, why is this always happening to me? What is the reason for that? And the answer was so dang simple. It was literally like an aha moment answer where it's like, because this. And I was like, oh, okay. That's why. Okay. I've actually had a dream, and I think my wife can attest to this dream. I told her, I didn't tell her what was said in it, but I told her I had the dream. I had a dream that I was visited by some soul sisters, and they gave me the tea on what's happening right now. Right. And I was like, oh, well, I appreciate y'all for that, and thank you for letting me know. Like, it was a very, again, these are lucid dreams. And some folks have to go to ayahuasca, some folks have to go to mushrooms to get into that state of openness spiritually, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to do drugs to get here. You can just meditate, fast, and you'll get answers to a lot of things. But here's the thing. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid when you're there. So when you are communing with God, right? And thinking back in the day, when Jesus was here, he was manifesting things in real life. He wasn't even like trying to hide it. He's like, hey, listen, you want to turn that water into wine? Boom. Want to stop that storm? Boom. Like, he's just doing stuff, right? Because he had the keys unlocked to all that. Cool. When Jesus left, miracles were happening still in his name. Cool. So there was a level of miraculous things that happens to folks that are connected to God and the Most High. It's just how it works. And you can't be afraid to be used by God. You can't. Because God used you in different ways. There was a lady that I met last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. I think it was Thursday. Last week, Thursday. Went in to the office. I have a new site that I'm working at. And there was a lady sitting on a box outside of our door. It's a main street, like a Broadway. It's Main Street in Brooklyn. You know, front stores. You know, frontage. She was sitting on a box in front of our building. And I walk in, the program assistant's like, hey, there's a lady sitting on the box. She's really belligerent. She's saying all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I don't know if you can get her to move, but like, I don't think that's a good idea to talk to her because she might be crazy. I'm like, whatever. I don't think anyone's crazy now. So before I had walked in, I saw her and I was like, hey, good morning. She ignored me. I said, all right, that's fine. We'll come back to you later. So, you know, a goddess, you know, an elderly lady. So I come back outside now after I'm done my business in the office, and I walk outside and she's walking back and forth in front of our building. And I say, hey, good morning. How are you? And she was like, you know, you're happy. I wanted to say hi to you earlier, but now that you're smiling at me, you're disarming me. I'm like, I'm doing what? It's like, you disarmed me. You're like, I want to talk to you now. I'm like, okay, how are you doing? How's your day? Do you have a couple dollars? I'm like, I do, in my car. Walk with me. I can get you a couple dollars. Like, I really appreciate it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, hey, do me a favor. That box that you're sitting on, we kind of need access to that. And I don't know if you know, but like the staff can't get to it if you're sitting on it. Can you do me a favor and maybe not just, sit on that next time? She's like, I got you. I was just doing that because I was upset. But after meeting you and talking to you, like, now I feel good. I'm like, okay, well, what's your name? She's like, my name's God. I said, what? How do you spell that? She goes, GW. No. GOD. I'm like, okay. Hey, God. My name is Banash. Nice to meet you. And from there, we had a conversation walking back to my car. I gave her the change that I had. She started telling me that, she's going through some things, but she's happy and grateful that people like me are stopping to talk to her and give her encouragement. And she's like, I don't want to always be like that. And sometimes I go into that state where I'm throwing things and doing all this stuff, but I don't want to be like that. You make me want to be a better person. I'm like, well, I mean, you're probably a great person anyway. You don't need me to make you be better. Like, I'm sure you just decide to go through this experience. So, if I can help, give you a couple bucks and give you a positive smile and tell you to go on, like something so basic. But for her, it meant a lot. And it got her to kind of get back into her space where she wanted to be. More of the story is, when I met her, and this is why this journey it can scare some people. So I understand. When I met her, when she came up to me, there was an energy that I got like instantly, where it was sort of like, it's not fight or flight. I wouldn't say it's that. It's more so like a spidey sense. You know how like in Spider-Man, how he like has a spider sense, tingles, and he can feel like something's about to go down, but he doesn't know what. It's like that. And I only get that around powerful spiritual people. This woman was homeless, probably on some type of drugs of some kind, all that stuff. Woman said her name was God. Continues to talk about like how, every little action that I make can impact someone's life no matter how it works. Literally trying to give me a sermon from a very sermon like source, right? But I felt her energy. And when I tell you that that woman was powerful, and it's sort of like when angels visit you in your daily life and they come in the form of homeless lady, in the form of a homeless guy begging for money on the street, in the form of somebody that looks like they're losing their mind, going crazy, and you interact with them, you'll know that that's someone that's not who they look like by your vibes, by your ability to feel them. This happened to me twice in the last month. So this lady was one. My message from her was essentially, don't ever think that the small things that you do don't have a gigantic impact in the world, because they do. So keep doing the small things. That was her message. And her message was from a divine source, even though she didn't look divine at all. But that's the point. Looks aren't everything. Second one, there was a gentleman at the gym, mental case, very aggressive guy. He came in the gym threatening people. Someone stole his shirt. He couldn't find his shirt, this, that, and the third. I saw him going off. He was like looking at threatening people. I was like, okay, if something happens, I'll step in. But if nothing happens, I'll just wait. So he finally walks out the gym, goes down to the change room. I'm like, okay, he seemed like he was upset. Let me go talk to him. Because I'm unassuming. I'm not trying to like fight people, but I'm also not afraid of anything. So I'm like, okay, let me just go talk to him, because everyone in the gym was scared at him and laughing at him and doing all this stuff. I'm like, yo, that's not the energy. Like, the man lost something. He's communicating in a horrible way, but he's just trying to find answers to something that matters to him. I'm like, yo, I'll step up and go talk to him. So I walked downstairs into the men's locker room. He's in there doing the same thing, but he had found his shirt. His shirt was on the counter in the change room. And he threw it out. And he's like, yo, my effing shirt, this, that, and the third. I can't believe. And as soon as I got up to him, same exact thing. Felt his energy first. The energy was that same spidey sense where it's like, yo, boom, like, the energy is here. What's this? Is it fight or flight? No. Is it spidey sense? Okay, yeah, it is. So that means this is something happening here. Okay, let me check it. So I say, hey, bro, what's going on, man? You found your shirt? Like, what's going on? Did you check the cameras? Like, I'm sure they could have. He's like, no, I found my shirt, man. I can't believe this. Da-da-da. He goes into his story, and I'm just sitting there listening to him. I'm like, oh, that's messed up. It's like, I can't wear that anymore. I'm like, no, you can't. You're right. So where is it? He's like, I threw it out. I'm like, all right, cool, no bet. All right, so you got another shirt? Like, you want me? I got a shirt in my bag. You want? You want? He's like, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. So he walks out the locker room. I follow him out, and we're still talking. He gets to the front desk, and there's this young girl at the front desk, and she's like maybe in her early 20s. Very unassuming, but he's like 6'3", 6'4", very aggressive. I'm like, let me just make sure that this works out well. So I sit there and he's still talking. He's going off at her and he's like about to walk into the back where he is, but he saw me and he didn't do it. He's like, okay, well, this guy might step in. So let me just not do anything more besides just talk. So he talking like, yo, brother, listen, man, I know how you're feeling. I understand why you're stressed. Just have a good day. Don't let this ruin your day, bro. Like, don't let that be the reason why your day's messed up. Like, you have a whole wonderful week and look at the weather outside. Like, there's a lot to be thankful for. So, just enjoy yourself. Have a good day, man. And listen, if I see you in here, we'll play ball, whatever. Like, just kind of like trying to like, keep him cool. He's like, yeah, you right, man. Whatever. That's cool. All right, later. Moral of that story is message from him as well. The message that I got from that interaction, because again, when you're connected, you don't just see things for what they look like face value. You see them for what they are underneath the face value, which was for him, something of his was violated at some point in his life. And he had basically rechanneled that same energy into the shirt that was violated because someone took his shirt and threw it wherever it was going. And it caused him to have an emotional response to that. And he was upset because no one was actually listening to him. So the moral of the story was, no matter what people sound like, at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be heard. And they want to know that their feelings matter. Even if they're not saying it or communicating it well, they just want you to know, like, hey, like, just because I feel like this or because I'm reacting to something doesn't mean that I'm less human than you or I'm less of a god than you. Like, no, like, you're just going through a different experience. And we're all one bad experience, traumatic experience away from being in someone else's shoes. That's all it takes. One traumatic experience from being in someone else's shoes, whether that be homeless, whether that be on drugs, whether that be abused, raped, disabled, like all of those things can happen. So it's important for us to take every experience that you have and not just see them as basic random things, like see them as actual interactions and connections with an energy that is trying to give you messages throughout your lifetime. Like there are so many lessons that we fail to see because we're so busy superficially looking at things that we don't see the undercurrent of everything. And that's where I'm at right now. Like when you do these mental exercises and you're remembering certain things, it opens up other parts of you. It opens up your ability to feel and see people in a different light. And when you're there, you then become a person that is forced to deal with things on a spiritual level at all times. You can't just switch it on and off. Like it's going to always be in your face. So this gentleman now, same guy, went to the gym this week. Turns out that he ends up on my basketball team. So now him and I are playing on the same team. And he gets to now interact with me. I'm the same guy that was in the locker room talking to him. Now we're actually on the same basketball team playing together. And we were killing it. I think we were beating the team 18 to 2. And I was giving him assists. He was hooking me up with some passes. I was hitting shots around. Like we were working great as a team. And he was getting amped up, whatever. I go down. Someone undercuts me. I kind of roll my ankle a little bit. And he's like, yo, listen, an ankle for an ankle. This is Old Testament right now. Like he's now coming to my aid, like coming to defend me. I'm like, yo, bro, it's cool. Like, I'm good, man. Whatever. Like, I'm good. And he was just amped the entire time. He's like, game, da-da-da. So like all of this to say that you never know how an interaction is going to move. And after the game was done, there was respect there. Like he was like, hey, like I respect your game, like this, that, and the third. Now, if him and I have another interaction where he's going off and wilding off, I believe that I'm in a space where I can say, hey, bro, like I got you. I understand where you're at. Like, what's going on? Talk to me. And now he has someone that's going to actually sit through his rage and know that, hey, it's all good, man. You want to be upset, be upset. Like no one's judging you for that. Just don't kill anybody. Just don't hurt anybody and you straight. You hurt somebody, I may have to do something to you. Being a man, right? It's like you have to know how to be everything at the same time. And I think I posted this gentleman. He had posted something about, being a man isn't you can't define that. Like you have to literally be able to move into masculinity, into some of your feminine energy, being able to utilize whatever the moment needs, right? And I love that definition because it forces you to see everything as a spectrum. Nothing is just black and white. It's like you have the ability to be sweet, you have the ability to be fierce. And both are required in certain circumstances. Like if he were to get aggressive and attack me or attack someone that I love or care, I'm defending everybody, right? Like that's what I'll do. But if he just needs someone to listen to, then I'm going to be caring and loving and say, hey, bro, like, what's up? I'm going to extend that hand of gratitude and of understanding and gesture that, right? Like you've got to be able to do that. And I think for women, the same thing. Like there's a time and a place to be, soft and sweet, and a time and a place where it's like, yo, you're trying to get my child? Are you kidding me? Nah, not today. Like you're not getting my kid. Like there is a protection level where women just turn up. And even if it's not their child, it could just be something that they're defending, their husbands, their spouses, their family, whatever it is. Women turn up too. It's not their natural state, but they have to learn how to navigate if it requires, right? So anyway, long tangent short. This first exercise that we mentioned, which is the 15-minute recall, it's going to open up other things. And when it does, just don't be afraid of it. I think when we're talking about dreams and there's different stages in dreaming, you got to know that stage one of it, like you're going to get initiated in your dream. I've already been initiated in mine. And my dreams initiation was one where I was being attacked by creatures. And it was to the point where I had to decide whether or not I was going to allow this dream to be what it was, or I'm going to create whatever dream I want to create. And I said, yo, when I'm in my dreams, they're mine. I do what I want, when I want, how I want. You don't get to attack me here. Sword, chop your head off. like literally it was that simple. It was like, I'm not intimidated. You're not going to intimidate me. No, I'm coming for you. Let's go. You think you're a monster, you want to attack me in my dream? Nah, not today. And I would visualize Excalibur essentially. And I was just chopping monsters to bits. And after that dream happened, I've never had another dream where I have to beat up monsters. That was my initiation, because in the dream state, you have to know that there's no fear there. You shouldn't be afraid in that state, because if you're doing it the right way, you're surrounded by love. You have your ancestors that are there. You have, your intentions that are there. And once you're doing it with those two elements in place, there should be no fear there. Because let's say that you're in the dream state and you get a message from, Jesus Christ. He comes in as an answer and says, hey, Banaj, I want you to think about this in this way. I want you to treat this person this way or that way, right? If Jesus walks you up to you in your dream, you're gonna be afraid, because he's not gonna look like the Jesus that you see on TV. It's not gonna look like the Jesus that you see in magazines and books and on people's pendants. Like, he's gonna look different. He might be a lot taller. He might be a lot darker. He may not have, the nails in his hands anymore. Like, that's not a thing. But how do you know it's him? I know it's Yeshua. How do you know that's him? You're going to know because you're not going to be afraid. You're going to ask, hey, who are you? What do you want me to do? Like, this is the spiritual part of this, which gets, again, it's not scary, but for those who aren't ready for that, just get ready. Like, it's a part of your blueprint, man. It's a part of you. So anyhow, so that's the last thing we'll talk about. So again, step one, your body. Your body's got to be right. You've got to know what you're putting into your system. You got to give your body a chance to rest. That way you can stop processing food and start processing spiritual things. Number one, number two. And then number two, you've got to start working on your mind, working on your pineal gland, working on your third eye. These, they say the chakras, right? The chakras that you have in your body, think of them as nodes in your body, different like power centers, essentially, right? And each one of them is correlated to organs in your body and correlated to parts of your spiritual journey and awakeness. When you are eating poorly, you are blocking certain nodes in your body, which will prevent the circulation of energy to actually manifest into things outside in your spirit body. So it's important that you work on your diet. It's important that you eat the right things. It's important that you actually fast so that your body can stop processing food and actually start kind of harmonizing all of your energy so that you can then start being used as a beacon of positive energy, a beacon of hope, a beacon of love, and all the things that you want to manifest, and start attracting those things to you. See, being a beacon isn't just sending a signal out. No, it's telling the energies where to come. Like, if I'm saying, hey, bless me, Lord, bless me. Okay, you want to be blessed? Well, then be righteous. Do kind things. Send out the energy of righteousness, and I'm going to pay you back tenfold. That's how it works. But you can't send out righteousness if you're indignant in your heart. You can't send out righteousness if your body is not right. And if your mind if your pineal gland is blocked, you can't send out messages because you don't have the connector. Like that pineal gland part of your body is one of the most important organs that you'll ever know. They call it the pine cone, but literally it's the seat of God. That is where manifestation of spirit meets body. Think of it as the conductor, the spiritual conductor of your being. So if that conductor is fired or calcified, as that would say, then you're not doing stuff. You're not going to connect to your first self. You're not going to connect to your ancestors. You're not going to connect to any of the ancestors who are trying to connect with you, the elders even. You're not going to do anything if that's blocked. So the first step is to uncalcify that. You do that by meditation, what you eat, how you sleep, what you think on, because again, your thoughts turn into things. All of these things are important. All these things are conscious. So for folks, if you have not actually purchased Black Root Science, I would definitely recommend you guys do that and kind of start going through the exercises, because that's the part where I feel like when you get there and you start doing this, you're going to start seeing answers to questions you've had in your life, like literally like this, to the point where there's not going to be a question as to whether or not you should go left or right. And that's where I want you guys to all be, where you're no longer asking anybody else for advice, asking anybody else for what they think you should do in your life. No, you're the best source for your advice. You're the best source for all things. You don't need to ask anybody for what you should do next because the answer is already within you. But are you quieting down your environment to hear it? That's what we have to think about. And the world is so distracting. Like, we are so distracted with everything. We're distracted with what we take in at school, what we take in at work, what we take in on the television, what we take in outside when we're just trying to go grocery shopping or whatever. There's so much negativity out there that all that saturates into your system and into your spirit. So you have to start purging things and people and experiences so that you can get yourself in a place where you're at peace. Being at peace is everything. So folks, we got 3 minutes left. I just want to kind of round up what we just talked about. So we were talking about opening up your third eye and opening up your pineal gland. And the way to do that is in 3 ways. 1 is what you're putting into your system, what putting into your body, the food that you're eating. 2 is fasting, being able to withhold eating food all the time. Right now, I'm on a fasting schedule where I fast once every day for about 23 hours. The lowest I'll do is 16 hours. Then I eat for 4 hours and I do it again. And then once a month, I'll fast for 30 hours. And the purpose of that is because there are poisons and preservatives and things in your food that your body takes at least 24 hours to process out. And you can't get into a spiritual awakened state with those toxins working on your body. Your body has to stop working on those things for it to then change and shift this energy towards you manifesting and having spiritual awakeness, right? So you'll never find a guru or someone that is a spiritual person who is a glutton and overindulging in food, because they cannot manifest and meditate when their body's still processing. It's just not a thing that your body does. It has to shut that down to start lifting that up. So understand that. Number 3, mental exercises. It's important that you, in Black Roots, the first lesson one was to take a 15-minute interval throughout your day. So pick any time between 6:30 and midnight. And during that 15 minutes, you are to observe every detail of every single thing around you and that's happening to you in that moment for 15 minutes. Make it a conscious thing. You're going to start saying, hey, I'm on a live right now. I see a vase. I see, my daughter's picture. I see a box that says SKB. And you're going to start visualizing and thinking of all these things, right? And when you're doing that, that's when you're going to say, hey, I've visualized all this. Okay, cool. For 15 minutes, that's the exercise. Visualize everything, observe everything, see the details in everything. Look at the color of people's shoelaces. Look at the drinks in people's hands. Try to remember as much as possible. And when you're done, 15 minutes, shut it off. Don't think of anything again, right? Now, that same night, before you go to bed, here's how the exercise works. You've got to take out a notepad and try to write down every single detail that you were thinking about during that 15 minutes from start to end, right? Write down as much details as possible, but here's the secret. You have to only write down things that you guarantee remember. You can't make things up. The purpose of this exercise is to prevent you from creating a fake memory. The goal is for your memories to be truthful and honest as you're recalling it, because as you start connecting those memories together, you're going to get openings to other memories that go back into the day. Oh, welcome to Queens. Got some ambulances, ambulance. So again, the purpose of the exercise is for you to literally start recalling details in truth. If you can't remember the full detail, write down what you can remember and leave out the other gray stuff. Because what's going to happen is you're going to keep doing this. This happens over a 7 series, right? By the time you do this a 7th time, you're going to get the memories of the first time. And what happens is you actually get the details that you forgot the first time. They'll come back to you more and more, because when you observe something, it's recorded. The problem with us is that we forget the recording. We forget how to get back to it. So this exercise helps you to recreate that pathway, that neural pathway to that memory, so that you can actually relive those memories. The author of Black Root Science was actually, he's a griot. He's actually able to recall his entire life that same way in real time. He can visualize when he was 5 years old on the 3rd day of the 3rd month. What was I doing that day? That's the level of memory exercise that these guys have that wrote this book. So we are all capable of doing that, but we just haven't practiced. We haven't been initiated into that. So this is going to be the beginning of that. If you could remember who you were, what you did, where things were, how much more powerful would you be as a person, just in general, right? So that's exercises 1 through 7. So folks, that's our episode today. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Again, remember, this is all about a journey. Everyone's going to be on different parts of this journey, but the goal is to connect at some point together and to make sure that whatever we're doing is actually something that matters. Like, don't just do things just to do it. If you're going to live your life, understand there are people who would love to be in your position that aren't even here right now because they're dead. Like, there are people that are dying, that are dead, that are not here, and you have the ability to be healthy, to choose your lifestyle, to choose what you want to see in life. Manifest those things. But to do that, you've got to start setting yourself up the right way. So folks, that's Wealth Wednesday. It's good to have you guys. Next week, I want to talk about exercise number 2 for the mental exercises, because I want you guys to see how practical these things are and to start looking into them. Because when you start manifesting your future, you want to have, that dream job, or you want to start your own career, or you want to go back to school and be a doctor or dentist, whatever you want to see in your life. You can literally manifest all that if you just get your body and mind prepared for it. If something comes to you before you're ready, you're going to mess it up. That's just how life works. So let's get our spiritual bodies ready. Let's get our minds ready. Let's get everything prepared before we even get to those situations. That way, when they come your way, you just take them and go. Take them and go. So folks, Till next week, we're going to do exercise 2. And like I said, just stay connected, eat properly, do your thing, fast, get connected to your spirit, to your first self. Remember the exercise of 7s and 7s. Breathe in for 7 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, breathe out for 7 seconds. Do it 7 times. And after that, then ask the Most High questions. Ask about your future. Ask about your future job. Ask about all those things, and you'll get answers. All right, folks. All right, peace and love, Auntie. Yep, nice to see you. What's going on, Mo? What's up? What's up? Hope. Hey, Shanti. What up? What up? 13 Reezy, Nads, Sammers, Fiaz. What's up? Oh, we got people in the house, man. Okay, that's what's up. Sean, what up? What up? New father. What's going on, brother? All right, folks. I'm out. I'll catch you guys next week, man. Be safe, be good to each other, and we'll talk soon. All right, peace, peace.